How many of you are tired of hearing teachers say already? They may not be saying it directly to you, Miss New Principal, but you're hearing that teachers are saying these children just don't want to learn. And how many of you who are just newly assigned principals or assistant principals, you want to show the superintendent and you want to show the community that they made the right choice when they hired you. So you want to do your best to make them know that they made the right choice. Well, if you know you need ways to change the academic culture on the campus, you're in the right place. And if you know that non traditional ways to teach children may be the way to success for your children on your campus, you're in the right place. Today, we're going to be talking about 3 unconventional ways to encourage learning among students. That's right, 3 conventional ways. Welcome to another episode of Principals on the Come Up, where we transform schools into hallelujah success stories. As a, as a principal of a former low performing school, I realized that getting students to be high achievers had to be the norm, not the outlier. It had to be, this is just the way we do it every day, and it shouldn't be anything different about it. That's just how we wanted it to be. The campus had to be a place where students were proud to be smart, not people walking around saying, "Oh, he's just a nerd." We want everybody to be nerds, and we wanted that to be the culture. We wanted that to be the standard. They had to show their academic achievement, and one of the best ways that we found to show academic achievement was through competition. You say competition? Well, how is that going to encourage students to be high performance? Well, first of all, everything our students are doing now is driven by competition, is driven by levels. And it's still like that. They love competition. So if you can find a way to get competition involved into your instruction, then you're on the right track. You are going to be a winner. You know, um, this came about after my school was humiliated so many times by having the lowest performance in organized and regional academic and literary competition. We would always be the ones that would be the last one. We had to figure out ways to show the community that our school was not a school full of dummies. Even though our test scores kind of said that, you're not only talking about the students, but you're talking about the teachers, you're talking about the parents, you're talking about, where the children live. You're just talking about them, and that feels bad. And for you to be a principal, do you want to be identified with a school that comes in last every time? Now, I know sometimes you have some schools that, they go through a cycle, they end up on the top and then they, kind of come down after a while. But no, not this school. This school was always on the bottom. That's why it was 2 or 3 principals ahead of me. And that's why the scores were so low, because nobody wanted to be associated with that school. So just join me as I have a little conversation with you and kind of ask you a couple of questions. How do you involve your students in academic competition? Just think about that. And how can we make academic competition fun? I mean, it has to be fun in order for the students to be engaged. Hi, my name is Barbara Polk, and I'm known as a turnaround principal. I was assigned to one of the lowest performing schools in the district, and was also one of the lowest performing schools in the state of Texas. Yes, my school was one of the lowest performing schools, but we were able, after a year, to get that school turned around. We were recognized for doing things that had never been done before. And it was not just because of me, but it was because of the team of people that had realized and identified and decided that we would no longer be the lowest performing school in the district or one of the lowest performing schools in the state. So if you are a new principal, or if you are a returning principal, or if you are a reassigned principal, and you have some expectations, and then you know exactly what I'm talking about. But once we turned the school around, I was eventually chosen by the Texas Education Agency to go into schools that had been designated as low performing by the state of Texas to get those schools turned around. And we do have some hallelujah success stories. I was also chosen by the Harvard Graduate School of Education to be a part of their Urban School Institute, where there were so many of us who were struggling that Harvard, with all of their great minds, identified the things that it was going to take in order to turn those schools around where they never went back to low performing. And it was not just the United States. There were places throughout the world who were there. People from Australia, people from Africa, people from all over. We were all fighting to make sure that our children would succeed. But all of that recognition and all of that, appointed by TEA and yada yada, man, let me tell you, that wasn't always like that. The school that I was assigned to was a school where they had drugs, they had weapons, they brought guns to school, they brought drugs to school. You had gangs that came. It was a mess. It was a mess. And the students, they didn't feel good about going to the school because they knew how the community felt about that campus. Because the campus didn't just get like that all at once, of course. It took years for it to get that way. So we had to come up with some ways. We had to be innovative. We had to identify a core of teachers who said, we're going to get this school turned around. And that's exactly what they did. So having a school with students who are failing, or even, if you don't have a school where all the students are failing and you have been given a mandate that says, we want you to move to the next level, you're going to have to change some mindsets, and you're going to have to do some things that are different on that campus that has never been done before. But before we begin, before I talk about those three ways to encourage that competition, I want you to look at the top of the page. If you're on Principals on the Come Up, on that Facebook page, I want you to hit the invite button. And if you are on YouTube, I want you to hit the share button. And if you're on YouTube, hit the subscribe button. And if you are on Barbara Ray Poe Consulting, hit the share button, because you have some friends, who need to hear this. Because, the thing about principals, especially those principals that are in low performing schools, are those schools that are just, on the edge, you're just teetering. They're silent. They're silent. They don't know, they could be, with a group of principals who, are the hotty toddies, and they just kind of look down at you and they're not offering any help to you. This is for you. This is for your friends. This is for your colleagues, because they're not saying anything. They're just struggling in silence is what they're doing. And they need help, and they know they need help. And they are relying on the people, who were there, who were struggling before, and they just don't know how to pull out of that struggle. So share this with your friends and your colleagues so that we can get more of our students, especially our students of color, our students who are in rural areas, because they have a tough time as well. They have a tough time. They have a tough time getting teachers to stay. They have a high turnover rate. Um, Principals that they just kind of move on up the ladder because they're the one who said, yeah, I'll try to do it. That's just the way it is. But we can do better than that. We can do better than that. So today we're going to be talking about 3 unconventional ways to encourage learning among students through competition. Well, let's talk about the first way, and that is getting your students involved in academic and literary competition. So you say, what the heck are you talking about? These kids don't come to school as it is. And when they do come, it's problems. Have to write them out, especially, since they haven't been around us through direct instruction. We've been doing our learning online. They're having to become adjusted to sitting down and listening to instruction. So a lot of times, we're just writing them out. So you're saying academic and literary competition. That's exactly right. Let me tell you what taught us about academic and literary competition. Well, I told you that we had a group of teachers who had decided that they were going to turn that school around, and we were going to do whatever it took, as long as it was not illegal or immoral. We were going to turn that school around. So our first year there, well, my first year as a principal there, was something that was called the academic and literary competition. And this was a regional competition. And the people who were a part of this competition, they met. There were about 9 or 10 schools in this competition category, and they would rotate where the competition would be held. So the competition would be for math, for science, for reading, numbers, one act plays, all of that kind of competition. So I was notified that our school was going to host the competition that year. I said, what? I said, oh, yeah, your school is going to host it. And the teachers who were there, they've been through it several times before, so they can help you. So I got those teachers, and those teachers got, the other teachers who were a part of the academic competition. And we had the competition at our campus. So when this happens, that means that the school for a couple of days is shut down for a half day. So that meant that all of this had to go through the board for approval. It had to be put on the calendar in advance, which I didn't know anything about. But it was approved, and at noon, all of our students were dismissed to go home. They were dismissed early for a couple of days. And then we had all of these yellow buses driving up in front of our big building. Oh, here they come, all of these different school districts. And my group of teachers, they had everything laid out because this was event planning. So we had a struggle. We had a struggle trying to get our kids involved in academic and literary competition. So that meant that we had to have kids doing double duty, triple duty. There was some competition that we had no student to participate at all. It was horrendous. The teachers who had always done the competition, they said, well, we don't do well. We're not going to go the extra mile and try to make sure that, we get these kids to do well. So anyway, for those 2 days, of course, every time there was some type of competition, we knew that our kids didn't do well. We just knew it. And the second day of the competition, we went on, and then we went until maybe about 5 o'clock in the evening. And at 5 o'clock in the evening, everyone was told to go to the auditorium because they were going to announce the winners of the competition. Oh my goodness. I am going to be identified as a failure in my own building. Here I am, the brand new principal. I'm hosting the competition, and I know exactly where our students are going to land, and it's going to be at the bottom. So all of the kids, I guess it must have been a couple of hundred kids, and their sponsors, they'd have 6 or 7 sponsors, and they all lined up in the big huge auditorium, and there on the auditorium stage, you had all of these awards, all of these ribbons, all of these beautiful trophies for each of these categories. And whoever was over the program, they were announcing who the winners were. And of course, if you were at the bottom, you were the last one. So the first competition went, and no winners here. We were at the bottom. Second competition announcement. No winners here. We're at the bottom. The third, the fourth, the fifth, the sixth. It just went on. And I just sunk deeper and deeper into my seat because, we're just not in it. Everybody else was in it to win it except us. That was the most humiliating experience I had ever had. I looked at the teachers looked at me, and we said, we're going to do better. We're going to do better. We got to do this. So for that year, we said, what do we need to do? What do we need to do? How can we get kids involved? So you just don't decide all of a sudden that, we're going to have all these people, all these students participating in academic and literary competition. No, you do it one step at a time, the same way you eat an elephant, one bite at a time. And slowly, as the entire campus started to change, we saw that we had children who we were recognizing as participants in our academic competition. And it was not just those high achievers. We had students who had never participated in anything before, and they just wanted to be involved with something. We had other students who we had to encourage to participate. And then we had other students who we said, if you would just be an alternate, if you would just stand by. So the competition ended up being a recognition for our students. The second year, did we did we take the big prize? No, we didn't take the big prize. The second year or the third year. By golly, the fourth year. That's right. It takes a minute. It takes a minute to change the culture on your campus to where people are becoming involved in academics, and it's something that everybody wants to be responsible for. So the academic and literary competition, this fourth year, it was not in our building. We went to the neighboring city, and they had all of those school districts there, and we knew we were ready. Our culture had changed. We had recognized everybody for their involvement in competition. We recognized those students who went the extra mile. And it became a way around the school. What kind of competition are you participating in? What are you in? Are you going to be here? Are you going to ride the bus to the competition over here? I'm involved in the competition over there. So it's the fourth year. I walk in, and because they've been in competition, most of the day. So I drive in and I ask the teachers, well, how are things going? And they say, we got this. We got this. We understand how to do it. We understand the politics that's involved in it. We got this. We know how to do this. So it was time again for all of the awards to be given. The curtain opens, and there are all of the awards, all of the big trophies, the smaller trophies. Of course, that big trophy, those were the ones who had gained the most points in all of the competition. So they started from the bottom, giving out awards from the people and schools that had the lower rates. And our school was not called. And then it was the next level up. Our school was not called. And then it was the final level for the big trophy. And who did they call for that big trophy? A hallelujah success story. It was us. It was us. We did it. We did it. That is a way to transform your school through competition. Now, how you do it, who you get involved, what type of competition is available in your area, in your region, in your city, find it. Even if you think that your students would never, ever excel, just be prepared to be humiliated the first or the second time. Remember, you're looking at the end. You're not, this is a progression. It's not a sprint. You're not just going to run a few yards and, go through the line and say, I'm a winner. No, it takes a minute. The second thing that we found was debate. What do you say, debate? Yeah, debate. Now, if you are like me, you're trying to see, I'm living in the ghetto over here. I want to see how the other half lives. So, the same way you do, you drive around in neighborhoods and you look and see what they're doing, or you go through the new homes and new neighborhoods and see their community rooms and all the swimming pools, and you see just what's going on over there. So as I was going through websites of those school districts that were at the top of their games, they all had debate teams. That's right, debate teams. So I figured out, I said, well, why couldn't we have a debate team? And if you can get a teacher who can say, oh, I was a part of the debate team, or I was a part of this team, I can sponsor something like that. Start talking it up, around the campus. You don't need a whole lot of people, but remember, you are in the process of changing your culture. So just kind of talk it up and see if you can get any kids and contact their parents. Contact their parents. Because when your child is in debate, the parents have to be involved. And what better way to get parents involved is when their child is going to be recognized for competition. And remember, even though you may not be at the top of the heap among your peers, once you get back on campus, you're going to recognize those students every day when you're on the PA system, principal. You're going to be talking about excelling. You're going to be talking about what you saw that was good, that was improving your academics. It's going to become a way of life. Well, anyway, we had a new teacher who said she would just love to work with kids on the debate team. And first time, we didn't do that good. Second time, it was a little challenge, but they said we could come back later on that year and we'd have another debate competition. And that time we brought back the trophy, debate team. So what happens again? Competition. Our children thrive on competition. They just thrive on it. So that was a way to change the culture. And the last thing, Don't you all know that every year the Scripps has the National Spelling Bee? Yeah, the National Spelling Bee competition. Something as simple as that. The National Spelling Bee competition. Don't you remember when you were in fourth grade and fifth grade and everybody would stand on in a line and the teacher would call out words and when if you couldn't spell a word, then you sat down and then the last few people that were up, were back and forth with spelling, and the one who won. Oh, hallelujah. We all have a good time. It's the same thing with the Scripps National Spelling Bee. Of course, you have different ramifications and different responsibilities. But what does that do? That changes your culture. Miss Principal, Mr. Principal, go out there and find out about the Scripps National Spelling Bee. It's always a big deal on television. It's always a big deal on the news. That this child learned how to spell or knew how to spell this word, and there are the Scripps National Spelling Bee champion. I think we had one of our first African Americans to win last year during all of the COVID, but they won. They won. They won. So what did it take? Well, we first had to find out in our area if there was an organization that Scripps had contacted, and we found a local organization where we started in our region, and we had our kids there to participate. At first, it wasn't but 2 or 3 to participate along with their parents. Then we had 5 or 6. Then we had 10. Then we had 12 who wanted to participate. So it became something that we did. That's what we did. We improved our culture. We improved our performance through competition. And those were the 3. Now, let me give you a little something extra. As far as the Scripps Spelling Bee, we had a lot of kids who knew how to spell well, but they had others in the classroom because we took our kids from the competition among each class, and whoever won that competition, and those were the people who we asked to participate in the Scripps Spelling Bee. But there were a lot of kids who spelled well, and we wanted to recognize them. So we held our own spelling bee. That's right. We held our own spelling bee on campus. We identified those children who were tops. We set up our screen. We got some clickers, and we had our competition right there in our auditorium. And we recognized those kids who did well right there on our campus. So that meant that that kid who was probably not so good in math, he knew how to spell. And that kid that was good in math and was getting recognized all the time, now you have somebody else getting recognized for that strength in reading or in spelling. And that's simply what you do. And that is how you get to change the performance on your campus through competition. So if you want to get up-to-date information on Facebook Lives, resources and tips and strategies, join our Principals on the Come Up community. What are you waiting for? What are you waiting for? You're waiting for me to come to your school, to meet with you as a principal, or meet with you as your team, as we've met with so many other teams and made hallelujah success stories. You can go to barbaraypope.com, and we can have a consultation to talk about what it is that you need in your school to turn your school into a hallelujah success story. So as we close today, just remind you that all the things that we're talking about every week are things that have been success stories for us and success stories for other schools to get them turned around, where they have become hallelujah success stories. We'll see you again next week.